Welcome. We are here, another episode of Blue Collar Green Pockets. Tonight, we've probably got one of the best industries you could ever get into. It's beer making, breweries, distilleries. This is one of my personal favorites. I got a great crew with us as always tonight. I got Chuck Wilson with me. Dave Jones coming in a little late tonight. You know, it's AC season. Me and him been a little busy, but he'll be here any second. We want to get the show rolling because I know y'all are all waiting, 8 o'clock. Tonight, we've got a whole crew here from Big Ugly Brewing, which is out here in Chesapeake, Virginia. They got a great story. They're going to tell you all about it. Just a quick intro on my end. I've got Sean and Aaron Childress. Sean is the co-owner of Big Ugly Brewing. Aaron actually owns a distributorship called Pretty Ugly. And then Jim Lantry is a brewer, and he's also co-owner of Big Ugly. How y'all doing tonight, guys?
Good.
Very good.
Great.
Awesome. We're going to dive right in. Ask you a few questions. We'll take turns. Y'all can answer them, roll along. First question is, getting into the brewery. We all love beer. I love beer. I tried it. I made some beers. I wouldn't call myself a brewer, but I've done it. Jim, how did you get into the brew making? You started in your garage, right?
Yeah, got a homebrew kit years and years ago, and I'll be honest with you, the beers that I was making early on were really not very good. So a lot of trial and error and practice. And eventually...
Jim, did you throw those away, or did you drink the trial and errors? I got to know.
No, I forced myself.
He made us drink a lot of them. He kept thinking 2 weeks more, it'll be so much better. But it had already been like a year.
Oh, yeah, there were some bad ones. I still have a closet full of unlabeled bottles that occasionally I'll pull one out. It's a mystery beer to see if it's gotten any better after 7-8 years, and usually they have not.
Usually not.
Now, you started with the browns, right? Because when I started, it's like, go with the brown because you don't see all the impurities and all that stuff. So dark bottle, brown beer, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My love was Russian Imperial Stouts. So I did a lot of really big 10% Russian Imperial Stouts, just one after the other until we kind of nailed that type of beer down.
We stopped by tonight and we got some, and my IT's over here waving his. He picked up one of your stouts tonight.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So Sean, Aaron, y'all tell me the story. Y'all were brewing together before y'all went into business, right? At someone's garage or something?
Yeah, well, every crappy brewer needs a crappy assistant. It just happened to be I was looking for a job, so
And you could crawl home afterwards.
yeah,
so
and it was in the neighborhood, so I got the hey, I need you home, or the kids need you home. I could stumble home real quick and act like I was there the whole time.
Got it.
Yeah, we'd sit there and brew in the driveway, and unfortunately, a lot of the neighbors would show up, and they'd all start drinking, and before you know it, things were getting out of hand.
And Aaron, how did you come into play with all this?
Well, I joke that they had to wait till the guys brewed good beer, which did, of course, happen. And then as we were looking at opening up the brewery, we were talking about distribution, and we talked about different partners we could have in that. And we weren't really thrilled with the options that were out there. So I decided to start my own company for distribution. And was supposed to be a kind of a short-term process. And then once we got into it, we realized it was a pretty good way to do things. And so now a lot of other breweries also agree. And so we have a pretty large portfolio of breweries, a cidery, 2 meaderies that we distribute between the Outer Banks and Richmond.
All right. So this show that we're doing here, it's about, jobs you can get into without going straight to a 4-year college or whatever. So did anybody go to 4 years of brew making college or distribution? No. You all had jobs, careers. You did all kinds of things. You just started.
I consolidated 8 years of drinking into 7 years of college. So that equals 4 years of brewing college.
That was on the job learning training.
But no, none of us went to school for brewing at all.
Right. On the job. Now there are classes I'm sure that y'all could even teach,
There are.
that might be a good idea. Come in, let people see the big how you do it. There's a big difference between the stuff I had in my garage and what I've seen in your place.
Definitely.
Yeah, the concept is the same. If you just think about every step of the process is exactly the same. It's just a much larger scale. So if you just keep that in your mind, it's not so overwhelming.
Okay, so the hops and whatnot, is that not isn't that something these days as far as ordering your hops way ahead of schedule and being on a list to actually get like the IPA hops and all that stuff?
Yeah, we contract with hop growers, so we contract out 1 to 2 years out in advance, kind of try to figure out what we're going to need, and that way we're on the list. So when they're available, we just send a note and they send them to us. But you have to plan in advance.
Virginia's been growing as a big hop farmer, haven't they, over the past decade or so?
It's getting much better. We actually picked up 80 pounds of hops just this month from the Eastern Shore from a grower out there. So we're doing some local stuff.
How many acres would it take to grow 80 pounds of hops?
I think he's got about 10 acres dedicated to hops, but I mean, that 80 pounds is just a minute fraction, maybe 2 plants worth of what he's got out there.
Okay.
Fortunately, hops grow vertically, so you don't need as much real estate as you would think.
You need the big growing racks and so on, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like trellises type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, Aaron, when you came in, when you said you got to the distribution part, but you're not just distributing for Big Ugly. How many breweries do you have now that you're actually sending the beer out for?
I have about 23 breweries that we work with now that we distribute for. And then one cidery from Nellysford up by Wintergreen, and then 2 meaderies, one in Virginia and one in New Hampshire.
Okay. How long? Big Ugly, let's start back from the beginning. So y'all went from Jim's Garage, which was the neighborhood hangout. It was an excuse to leave the house at night and go do experiments, right, Sean?
Right.
And you were the helper intake, so you had to be there. I understand fully.
Mm-hmm.
And then take us forward to the next step. How did we get, because y'all are at your second location now. So I know that first location had to have been kind of like, throw it on the table, see what happens, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. We talked to a lot of people. My dad being one of them, who was like, I don't know why you want to put your business there. I think it's a bad idea. And we just said, we knew that was where we were supposed to be. We knew that was going to be our home. And obviously convenient because we were only 3 miles away. We lived 3 miles away from the brewery. So that was nice. And just knew that this was the community that would be supportive of us, and a community that didn't have something like that already. Chesapeake didn't have any breweries. We've just gotten our second brewery, but there was nothing like that out here.
Correct. We were very open arms for you guys. So the first look.
There he is.
You were frozen.
Very open arms, frozen. I remember even popping in and meeting y'all when y'all were there's a couple people were in there offering some services to y'all when y'all were building the first place. So y'all grew that place. I mean that.
Well, we kind of went into the whole idea. It was never a plan, I guess, is a better way to put it. It just was one of those things where we started to be better at it, and then we had a lot of people saying, "Hey, you should try this." And a good friend of mine kind of pushed me a little bit, and we, Jim and I talked about it and decided, well, maybe. So we started to look at it and realized that, like Aaron said, we wanted to be close. We know our neighborhood, and we always kind of joked about the idea that Chesapeake was a little bit of a town that, even though we had a lot, we didn't have everything we needed. And so, as community folks here, we'd have to go to Virginia Beach for certain things, go to Norfolk for other things. And this was an opportunity for us to kind of do something that wasn't being done and that seemed like would have been a nice, fun thing and an attractive thing for Chesapeake. So that's obviously what kept us here.
It was, it is, and we welcome y'all for sure. I think you had me from the mango IPA. That I think
Oh
Aaron,
yes.
Aaron, weren't you in charge of cutting and juicing the mangoes?
No, thank goodness I was not. I don't even know who did that.
That was a
we,
bad job.
we all had
Jim
a,
and
yeah.
Evan and Amelia and Michelle and probably everybody in the neighborhood, boyfriends and girlfriends and everybody all hands on deck all the time back then, especially for that first run of mango.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you continued on. I mean, most of you still had other jobs, though, right? Aaron, you were working or still are working, and Sean, I've seen you. I mean, you're out. Your sales job or something, right?
Yeah, we all four of us actually had day jobs. At this point, Jim is the lone standing.
I'm the last survivor here.
But to be fair, distribution really kind of became my quote unquote day job, as opposed to my therapy job. But for a long time, gosh, 3.5, 4 years, we all were still working the kind of the other 9 to 5 kind of job.
And y'all have family, Jim. You got family all working there too, right?
Yeah, I mean, my daughter Amelia works in the tasting room, and Evan is our head brewer. So my son, we were very, very fortunate that he had done some brewing with me in the driveway and understood the process, because there was no way that I was going to be able to work a full-time job and brew. That was kind of delusional right from the beginning. He was able to pick it up and just run with it. He's done a great job.
Definitely.
And that's part of our thing too. So I mean, he had no college experience, of course, with brewing beer or anything. So he's basically
he actually went to Radford for a semester, so he had a lot of experience in drinking beer.
tasting. Tasting. I mean, I think tasting is an important part of the concept.
It's a huge part of the concept. And I get people come to me all the time and they say, what advice would you give to somebody that wanted to be a brewer? And the first thing I always tell everybody is drink as much beer as you can. And that sounds funny, but you don't know what a really good Russian Imperial Stout is until you've had 200 or 300 of them. And then you've got something to judge your beer against. So it sounds weird, like I'm encouraging people to become alcoholics, but until you taste a bunch of IPAs, you really can't judge whether yours is worth anything at all.
You didn't tell him to drink a gallon. You just said
Right.
Right. And he didn't tell you to drink 500 of the same beer. It's 500 unique beers.
And then he also told you at home to Uber home.
Yeah.
Or Sean, roll down the street. Chuck, get in here, Chuck. Where you been?
Well, when did you start?
It's Deep Thoughts with Chuck Wilson.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Thank you for that.
That's new for the show.
Chuck, did you know they were going to do that?
No, that's a new one. They came out of.
I love our new platform, our new setup.
Well, it turns out that I've been waiting for this show for a long time. I was first involved with a brewery, a microbrewery in Moline, Illinois, back in 1995, 96 timeframe. We bought it, brought it online right from the ground up. My interest in beer, and Jim, you were mentioning, we're telling people to try different beers. Well, I developed my interest in good beer after going to Europe, mostly in Germany and so on, and realizing that we were drinking crap here in the United States. And so when I came back, and it's like, where can I find some good beer? And started going around, and back in the early 90s, brew pubs were coming online. I mentioned every doctor with too much money was starting a brew pub. Unfortunately, they were making a lot of really bad beer. But there were some that had some developed skills and went forward and survived. Well, the brewery that I started, we had people who had been home brewers initially, like you were describing, that had been at it for years and brought those skills to the process. And we bought a wonderful brewing system, and I helped bring all those fermenting tanks, 30-barrel fermenting tanks, and we had 7 fermenting tanks, a conditioning tank, and 15-barrel brewing system, all copper, beautiful. I mean, it is like a temple to beer when you look at it. It's just magnificent. But it was, and my son Greg, who was our technical person, he was quite young at the time. But
Show hand, Greg. He gets
that's Greg. He helped with that.
There's that stat.
Like delicious motor oil.
So he kind of grew up around brewing. So this is not new territory for us. I mean, this is something that's familiar. I got out of the brewing business about 7 years or so ago.
Chuck had Greg tasting since he was 9.
Right. Dulled all of his senses.
You drink all your life. You don't start from the beginning, right?
No, I'm not going to make the joke I was going to. But anyway, we have a deep affection for the brewing business, and I've been drinking from this. As I mentioned, this is the first annual mug from our mug club that we had at Bent River Brewing Company in Moline, Illinois. And it's one of my proudest possessions, because getting to the point where we could put our own beer into this was quite
so they've got their own y'all got the 10. What is y'all's club? Yeah, I should be in that, by the way.
You should. I should. And now you have to get like raffled in.
I mean, I should have an automatic cup there at all times.
You have to fix a lot more leaks in my roof first.
Although you're on your way. So.
Bucket truck's going out tomorrow, so you might see.
So anyway,
let me ask you a question, Chuck.
What's that?
Let me ask you a question about your brewery.
All right.
And how things were. You said 95, 96.
Mm-hmm.
What style of beers were you guys brewing in 95 and 96?
The beer that really brought me to, that interested me most was stouts. I mean, I was crazy about stouts, and the oatmeal stout that we produced there, I thought was, just off the scale. And then, but we had, excellent pilsners, and we did a wide spectrum of beers, and Greg can add in what we did there. Our jalapeno beer was a very popular thing. We had what was called
back then. Y'all were playing.
You were revolutionary back then.
Yeah. But our biggest seller, and still with that company, the biggest seller, I believe, is the coffee stout.
Well, that's the Uncommon, which is actually
Uncommon.
It was at one point rated number 2 or number 3 in the nation.
Wow.
Rate Beer. It was Beer Advocate or RateBeer.com.
Wow.
Excellent. I mean, and I might have mentioned it to you guys. I mean, it is the beer that people just latch onto, and it's like, well, I love the stout, but people thought that adding the coffee flavor, the coffee effect to it was huge, and continues to make it in huge demand. So,
speaking of awards, y'all got quite a few awards yourself.
Yeah.
Please do tell us.
We like awards.
Especially from starting out with Jim's, shit beer in the garage.
We've come a long way.
Y'all have come a long way.
He has some old awards from his homebrew days too.
Yeah.
So he's being modest.
Every now and then, one of those will pop up on my Facebook memories. Some beer that I got an award for, and I thought, I remember that beer. I don't know how well it would hold up now, but at the time, they got good eventually.
Did you at least
Yes.
write the ingredients down back then, or was that just you and your assistants over there?
No, I actually still have a book at the brewery that's got all my old homebrew recipes in it.
That's
It's
awesome.
like the football playbook.
That's great.
Were you a part of, or maybe still part of BARF, the local homebrewers association here?
The weird thing was we were never into any of the local associations. I used to hang out at Homebrew USA a lot,
Yeah.
getting ingredients, but we weren't part of any of those groups.
He used to like just lean in and pilfer some of the really bad beer recipe ideas, and we would try to replicate them just by memory.
Rebels. I like it.
We got Dave now.
Beer pirates.
Hey, everybody. Dave
Dave.
I got off the roof. Welcome, Dave.
We talked him off the roof.
Can you hear
That
me?
guy down the corner.
We can hear
It's
you.
like the
This is a new and improved way of getting on here. Sorry for the delay. I like your shirt, Jeb.
Thanks. So Dave Jones, everybody, our co-host, he's in. Big Ugly Dave. We've got Aaron
Hey, Big
Shaw
Ugly.
Builders and Jim Lantry from Big Ugly Brewing.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey.
How y'all doing?
Good.
What's up, Chuck?
Dave.
I've missed you, buddy.
Same here. Same here.
Where's
So
the hand? Show me the hand.
There it is.
Show me the hand. There's the hand.
No.
Okay.
So Jim was just telling us about all the awards he had back in his garage days, and now even move on to the Big Ugly days. Tell us, y'all have gotten quite a few awards with those. Tell us about it.
We've done real
Yeah.
well. We had quite a few state awards. In fact, the state judging took place about a week ago, and we'll have the awards. We'll know if we won anything this year here in a week.
You will have the awards.
I'm hoping every year. I think there was only maybe 1 year we didn't get something out of the state awards, but more and more breweries in the state. I don't even know how many we're up to now. It's got to be over 200, maybe close to 300.
Just in Virginia.
Yes,
Hey, Jim, where are you located?
Chesapeake.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Very nice. Nice
Sorry
to-
for those at home. Dave's new to the show.
Well, I just thought I know the stuff I have to cover that you don't cover early.
2 years
So
ago,
the recent count on that, Jim, by the way, is like 265 breweries in Virginia. Now,
Virginia alone.
just alone, just breweries. That doesn't include cideries, doesn't include distilleries, doesn't include any of the other fun stuff that's out there. But 265, and when we started, we were like 101 or 100.
yeah, I think they were just over 100.
Aaron, where are you located?
I'm actually housed in Big Ugly. I lease space in the cooler and store lots and lots of beer in there.
It's a really nice cooler, Dave. I knew.
It is well constructed.
Dynamite.
You had me at cooler.
It's a what, 50 by 30?
Yes.
I-beams down the middle, Dave. Drive the forklift right in there.
Stop it, Jeb.
Gorgeous.
Don't get me excited.
It's where everyone goes to chill out.
You're so-
Yeah, I've spent most of my life in one of those coolers.
In the cooler.
In the cooler.
So, what would you say the marketplace is like for breweries these days? Is there still room in the marketplace?
I think there's still room, but it's definitely getting crowded. We're still one of only 2 breweries in Chesapeake. Chesapeake has almost 270,000 people. I think there's room for more growth, but right now it seems to be concentrated in various areas. Like if you look at Norfolk, most of them are within a mile of each other, which is not always a bad thing. You can hop from brewery to brewery, but I think there's plenty of room for growth yet. But it's getting crowded.
Tell us about the licensing and such. Like, let's say we got somebody at home right now. They're watching. You're like, man, this guy made shit beer in his garage. I'm making shit beer. I could be a brewer. I can go pro. I can get rewards. I can do this. I can hire the right people. I can try stuff. How do they become you guys?
Well,
Yeah,
hold on
it's the
one
federal
second before you go
one.
there, Jim. I know you want to go there, but you got to let these people know that we made shit beer for like a decade. This isn't. You didn't make this shit
two
beer
bad
over the
beers.
course of a couple long weekends. It wasn't like Labor Day's coming up. We're gonna make 2 batches and then we're gonna open a brewery. We did this for a long time, and as Jim mentioned before, the idea of drinking beer and understanding good beer and knowing good beer and going out and going to all local places and learning about it and being a part of, as Chuck mentioned, brewing clubs and those types of, societies that are out there. These are the things that you definitely want to get involved in. Don't think for a split second it's just that easy that 2 weekends you're going to get it. Now, it probably shouldn't take you guys 10 years like it did us, but there is a learning curve. And
I did buy the Home Brewing for Dummies book.
That's a
Well,
start.
you're halfway.
I was going to ask that question because there are several books that are really good for people that want to get into home brewing. And Charles Papazian,
Yes.
I think I bought that book 3 times because I've read it so many times. It's deteriorated in my hands. That is, in my opinion, by far like the Bible to use for home brewers. And it was written back in the 80s, I believe.
Yeah, that's still the book to get.
That's the one. So my wife bought me one when she brought me the home brewing kit. Literally, the first chapter, it said, "Stop, go make beer." And I never read another chapter after that. I read the book. It said, "Stop, go brew your first batch, and then read the rest." I brewed it. I'm like, fuck it, I'm good. I mean, like, I'm rolling.
Jeb, Jeb, did that have pictures for you?
There was no pictures. It was all words.
Came with crayons.
I read, this is for all you at home. This is the coolest thing. I was like, there's really nothing that can grow in beer to hurt you. I'm like, done. I'm good.
I can't get over. I'm a refrigeration guy. I can't get over the amount. About 5,000 of these.
It's story time with Dave Jones.
Story time.
What was that about? Oh my God!
Oh, Dave,
My
that's
answer
what they
is
did to
sliced
me.
in line. Is that what it's going to be?
I want everybody to put their hand up that missed me before I got on the broadcast. What I was going to say is about 5,000 breweries ago, I was like, yeah, maybe 100 of these will be able to survive, and then everybody else is going to be buying used equipment. This will never take off. I'm amazed by this industry, just amazed. I mean, from I did work for Dogfish when they first opened. I hooked up his first beer tech, very first, when Sam first did it years and years ago. And I was like, what is this guy doing? And then I would see, I'm in Delaware, by the way. I'm in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, southern Delaware. I don't know if you know where I am or not. But when I travel, the amount of breweries I see, I'm like, I don't want to be a brewer. I want to be the guy selling the stainless steel equipment to all you guys.
Yeah.
That's who I want to be. I just can't get over it. I just cannot get over. Where do you buy that equipment?
It's impressive.
There's brokers all over, and like the stuff we got it was designed in North Carolina, engineered in North Carolina, built in China, sent back to North Carolina where they tweak it and they do all the electronics in-house in Charlotte. And then they came and brought it to us and hooked it up.
Wow. Huh. And are there special guys that come? I mean, we've hooked some of it up, but are there guys that just run around doing breweries, hooking them
Yeah,
up?
pretty much. They've created a sort of a niche market that specialize in glycol and steam lines.
Well, we do the glycol work. Those out-of-towners, I would.
Yeah.
That's right. If you need glycol, you call Jeb.
Glycol Systems, all breweries of Virginia. Elite Service and Enterprise.
Atlantic Refrigeration. We're the Perlick rep for
Delaware, if you're in Delaware.
Our first glycol line, Sean and I and another guy actually built it ourselves. And it
That's
leaked.
right, Jeff.
Yeah, you said it leaked.
Yeah, there was leaks all over it, but we had buckets strategically placed all around these leaks. But it did the job, It was
did.
the first one, and it worked for 3.5 years, and we made it work.
That's
What do you think? Like Aaron, what do you think? I don't want to say end game on this is, but I want you to tell me in 15 years where is this industry going to be?
Ooh. I do think, we're talking about, is there room for more breweries? One of the
I'm just
things,
wondering, does it cap out? I mean,
I think it caps out, but I also think that the industry has definitely changed. We talk a lot about that. There seems to be a lot less of like, I'm going to build this, gigantic brewery and I'm going to distribute across the United States. It's a lot more localized now. And I think also that the consumer is a lot more discerning now. So, we would joke, way back when, that breweries were kind of such a hot thing. Like, well, if the beer isn't that great, well, and we would joke, obviously we wanted to make great beer, but we would joke that if it wasn't that great, it would still be okay because everybody was very, very excited about breweries. But what we see now, we're definitely seeing a few breweries closing. We're seeing, again, the consumer just being more educated and wanting really good beer and supporting that really good beer. And I think also supporting regionally.
do you guys ever go home and just crack a Coors Light or something? I mean, just say the heck with it.
Sometimes the plants are a little harsh.
I can't tell you the
Ficus
last time
really likes a good Coors Light.
I have a sister who is a diehard Bud Light fan. And we got my dad converted. He loves our beer. My sister sticks to Bud Light. I can't get her off of that. But I can't tell you the last time I've had something that wasn't craft.
Mm-hmm. And I would agree too. That you're right. There's a ton of the old schoolers. You can't get off these light beers. But the atmosphere at these breweries, especially there's hands down the atmosphere, I think, is why most people go. I mean, of course, the good beer. But anyway, I could buy your beer at other bars in the area, but we want that atmosphere.
Well, I was going to say that too, Jeb, because we have good beer, but we sell an experience. When you come into Big Ugly, it's a really cool place to be. It's a great place to hang out. We usually have some live music, food truck. It's very comfortable. We're the only brewery with a Volkswagen bus in it. I mean, it's a really different experience than you're going to get from going into a bar or going into a little brewery that's just kind of a concrete box. So that's part of the deal too, that if you really want to keep people coming back, you got to give them something more than just beer.
Jim, what did you do before you did this?
Still doing it, but I'm a nurse practitioner. I do family practice work. I've retired from the Navy and now I work for the Navy.
Oh, okay.
We did a night for nursing. You should go back in. Jim.
We didn't do a night for nurses that do beer, though. That's different. What about you, Aaron? What did you guys do?
So my career job that I honestly thought I was going to do till I died, because I can sit in a couch and do it. I am a mental health therapist, and ironically, I specialized in substance abuse counseling. So
Amazing. You are making your own market. I like it.
Exactly. It's job security.
Pulling them to the dark side. All right. Yeah.
But Aaron, you went to
Get
college
it on both ends,
right?
Exactly.
Karen, how long did you go to school to do that job?
6 years.
6 years. I was going to say they just let anybody do mental health. I mean, that's
right.
So
6 years, an internship, licensure, all that stuff.
Roughly, how much guess you spent in school? Roughly, ballpark.
Ooh. That's a good question because it was a little bit ago.
Was it above 200,000?
Nah, I cannot probably less. At
I'm
least
just
100.
It was probably less than that. I mean, I think my master's degree was probably about 40,000. Because again, that was a few years ago. I was very fortunate. Our parents have told us that they would pay for 4 years of college for me and my sisters. I was the only one silly enough to go on and pay for my own college after that.
You know what? I told my boys that, and they said, "What about the remaining 3 years? Who's going to pay for that?"
Exactly.
But don't
now, Sean, on the other hand, he paid for 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, just recently finished paying for those 8 years.
Yes, he did.
And Sean, you were doing sales or something. Are you still working outside of Big Ugly or?
Well, I am the recipient of a lot of mental therapy.
As are our children.
Right.
Oh,
So yeah, up until just right before this pandemic, whatever you want to call it, doing sales for a couple different companies over the last couple of years, just medical. I did work for some beverage industry a while back, and I good history in distribution, that kind of thing. But yeah, so that's just a recent thing, and we're still trying to figure out whether or not I'm going to have to go back to it or not. So we'll
Or
see
if
how
I'm
it
going to
goes.
make him carry beer for me.
Yeah. Distribution is doing pretty well.
You have a lot
animal.
And I feel like you're serving more people, Aaron, with
Right.
alcohol. I mean, that seems to be a better.
Right.
I mean, you're helping. You went to school 8 years or 6
That's
years.
right.
You're helping in masses now.
Exactly. It's
Way more
short term
job
versus
security.
long term.
Is there a lot of throwaway, like a lot of waste in your industry? Like, is there a lot of, do you have to throw beer away? I mean, what happens to beer? Do you give it away? Does it always sell? I mean, what happens there?
It always sells. We don't have to dump any. We've never had to pour anything out or give it away. Now we do limited canning. If we did a lot of canning and cans sat on the shelf, that might be an issue. But for the most part, 90% of our beer is consumed in the tap room.
In a
And
tap room, okay.
sent out.
I have a friend that, hey, get that story time book back out there again, hand. I have a friend. That was funny.
It's story time with Dave Jones.
Story time.
So I have this friend of mine that's an attorney. I'm not going to name him, but he lives in Delaware, and he made up a story to drive. I mean, these guys are like addicted to beer, okay, and the rare beers. And this guy drove. He said he was going to be busy at work all weekend going over some case, but he drove to Maine to get a 6-pack of beer from this brewery where you couldn't get, you could only get a 6-pack. And it was impossible to get, and they just come up with it and drove to Maine and drove back to Delaware.
Yeah, I don't find that funny at all because I've been that guy.
Are you that guy, Jim? Are you that guy?
I have done that.
We're all that guy.
Didn't you used to make the trip for Coors back in the day? Wasn't that back?
Yeah.
Chuck, there we go. Go ahead. Tell us the story, Chuck. You look like
Well, I remember hearing
It's Deep Thoughts with Chuck Wilson.
Oh my God, that is hysterical. That is spot on. Go ahead.
Okay.
Wise one. Go ahead.
now I
Wise.
can't remember my deep thought.
You remember hearing something. Give us your deep thought there, Chuck.
Yeah. Well, there were a couple of things. I do remember the people talking about the long trips to get Coors. I mean, that was only out in Colorado way back.
And that's the
that
only place
was
you could buy it,
considered-
right? As a generational thing. Like back then, like that's the only place.
That was because the rest of the beer was such crap. Even Coors was good. You know? I mean,
And they did not have Aaron to distribute that Coors
That's
Light.
right.
That's
Across
right.
the country.
Well, it was just Coors back then. It was just yellow Coors.
yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
I
It was the banquet beer, though.
It was the one on Smokey and the Bandit. That's what they were
Yeah.
transporting.
I mean,
Right.
people were looking for flavor in their beer, and Coors had a little bit more flavor than what everybody else is getting with the Miller and so on. But it brings up a question or a point about the challenges to distribute micro brews or craft brews when my brewery was first doing it back in the later 90s. We thought, oh, it's going to just go and people are going to buy it and it's going to be so great. We're going to make a lot of money. Well,
Right.
believe it or not, Bud and Miller and so on, they weren't really wanting the competition and stood in the way
Right.
of the distribution. So you guys doing your own distribution and including all the other microbrews, my hat's off to you. That's great.
Just for ABC, I want to point out that Big Ugly's doing no distribution Pretty Ugly is doing all the distribution.
Okay,
Correct.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm sorry. There is a distinction there somehow. But
I lectured him before we started this. Yes.
Got a lot of uglies here.
a lot
That's
of ugly.
right.
Pretty ugly. Pretty ugly. I
That's
love that.
right.
But
Yeah, it was definitely something to kind of break into. Now there are a couple other smaller distribution companies here and even in North Carolina where we've started distributing. I can't say that. I've had too much porter. Distributing. There we go. But really, I mean, this was kind of the first thing or the first time that people had heard of that. And we still, 5 years later, have to educate people a lot about, they'll be like, so what exactly? And we're like, well, we're kind of like Hoffman, or we're kind of like these big distribution companies, but we're small.
But we got good.
Exactly. And we're all craft and we're all independent craft. So it's all people who are small business owners like we are.
Do you have a
Awesome. Back
You
to
have-
the American dream.
go ahead, Dave.
I'm sorry. Does everybody have like a secret in their beer there? I mean, like a chemical secret, or I mean,
Yeah, we use a lot of cocaine in ours.
yeah, is that really like using crack?
Keep
Oh
the
wait,
people
that
coming
was
back.
I mean, is it like
We actually stopped using a lot of cocaine just
So-
recently.
To answer the question, we're all getting the same, because when we first opened, Sean and I made a T-shirt that said "Great
is
beer
awesome.
made with average ingredients," because we all use the same. We're getting our grain from the same places.
That's what my question is really?
Same places.
Yeah. So you're all getting your grain the same place.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're all heating it up and cooling it off the same way. What differentiates one beer from another?
It's really the recipe and the dedication to the process. If you screw up on the process by a couple degrees of temperature, or the type of yeast you use, there's so many variants there that you can make your beer different, and you can make your beer bad. Cleanliness is huge. These guys that we've got, my son and his assistant brewer, they spend hours and hours. They'll take a whole day and do nothing but clean tanks. And that's a huge thing. If you get bacteria growth in a tank, your beer is toast. You're going to get off flavors. So it's a real dedication to process. With me as a home brewer, when I was doing it, I didn't have the process dedication down. I had the recipe, but not the process. My son is got the process down to a T.
That's awesome.
Well, that's the work part of it.
Yeah. The fun part is the recipe creation and flavors and that kind of thing.
How about testing?
The work is the cleanliness. He'll tell you he's a glorified janitor because he does a lot of cleaning.
Which
Yeah, they say like
highlights
10% rock star, 90% janitor.
Yeah,
I've done work there on Mondays when y'all are going to town.
cleaning
Yeah.
kegs, cleaning
Yeah.
tanks.
How many gallons? Okay, how many gallons of beer do you make a week, or a batch, or tell us about that.
barrels.
Barrels.
So barrels about 30 gallons.
Tito's comes by a gallon, by the way. That's
We
Just-
do
Just as a
let's see.
reference.
a handle.
It's slowed up a little bit because of COVID, but generally we do about 900 gallons a week. So 30 barrels a week average is what we produce.
What size fermenting tanks do you have there?
We're on a 15 barrel system, so we have a combination of 15 barrel fermenters and some 30 barrel fermenters.
I've seen the mix there.
Yeah, the big ones we use for like the IPA and the blonde ale, and we just bought a new 30 barrel fermenter that'll come next month for lagers. So
Jeff will be calling you.
Put that
So
up.
you're. Go ahead, Chuck.
I just, I mean, I've worked with those. We had 30 barrel fermenting tanks, and we had, like I said, 7 plus a conditioning tank of the same size. But I think we really only used the conditioning tank primarily as another fermenting tank.
yeah, a lot of people do. Yeah.
So
Well,
do
and
you?
you use reverse osmosis for the water, so you zeroed it out.
Yeah, we
And, the mineral percentages that you wanted.
well, and yeah, the water is like the key ingredient, really. I mean, having that high quality water that isn't doing anything negative to the process or the taste.
Yeah, we're actually fairly blessed that the water in Chesapeake has got a fairly high mineral content, which is great for IPAs. You want to hold on to those hop resins, and you'll get a lot of nice hoppy flavors. Some of the places I've been to where the water, we've done some collaboration beers and brews in the same beer that we would normally do, and it tastes totally different in somebody else's system with somebody else's water.
Hey, well, Jim, what would you say? Just a little bit off subject here. What would you say if somebody wanted to get into brewing? Okay, maybe a kid coming out of high school doesn't know what he wants to do, or second career person that kind of has a passion for it. What would they do?
Well, they're probably going to start at the bottom. They're going to go in and they're going to clean kegs. They're going to learn how to clean tanks. And actually, some of those places will take, some brewers will take on as volunteers to learn that basic process. Then they'll learn how to actually run the brewing equipment. And there's been a lot of good success stories for people. I don't know if you know a brewery called The Vale. They're nationally known. They're based now out of Richmond. But the kid that owns The Vale, or is the head brewer at The Vale, he started as a volunteer at O'Connor's Brewing here in Norfolk.
Wow.
He's at one of the most better known breweries in the country right now, but he started as a volunteer. So that's kind of how you start if you want to get in on the bottom end of it. You volunteer, you do the dirty work, but you learn the process.
Now, when you're doing that, when you're volunteering to do the dirty work, is there some other kind of in sundry education you could take, like chemistry, or is there something else that helps?
Yeah, there's Siebel Institute. There's
what's that? Siebel.
That's a brewing.
In Chicago.
Yeah. UC Davis has classes now you can take online and in person, and I want to say App State has a brewing, and I think even Virginia Tech now has a brewing science certificate that you can take. You don't have to do any of that. My son Evan, who's our brewer, he is just read and read and read and read. He's got no formal education. In fact, I saw a book I liked the other day, and I was going to buy it for him. I did buy it, and I said, "Hey, I bought you a book. It's a new IPA book." And he said, "I've already read that." So there's a lot out there that you can get really great knowledge. You just got to find it.
Can you break down just the very basics of what makes a beer? Because I think, to me, that's what makes it so incredible, because it's so simple, yet it's so advanced. Like, your imagination is the limit. I mean, it's water, yeast, and sugar.
Yeah,
show us your hand when you talk. Will you show us your hand?
Well, water, yeast, malted barley, which is your grain, which becomes sugar, and hops. And those are the only 4 ingredients that you need to make beer. And it's the variation of those that creates the different beers that you drink.
Now, I did watch a program on History Channel, How Beer Changed the World. It's a great program. If nobody has ever watched it, you have to watch it.
It created
civilization. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was made accidentally. They had like water and like bread, and it just like made it yeast, and they were like, they just drank it. I don't know why they would. Got a buzz, and then boom, that's how beer was invented. Is that? I mean, y'all read all the books.
Was invented.
This was like the ancient.
I actually wrote
pyramids and
I
stuff.
wrote a master's paper.
While they were building them,
What's the next episode about the wheel, Jeb? Did they talk about the wheel next?
they did. No, this was a beer show, Dave. It was all about beer, and that was the ration. So they moved boulders all day and then get rations of beer. I mean, it's not a bad.
Pretty good deal. So you're saying you can hold beer from now on?
They only needed the wheel to move the beer.
But I mean, for all the beer books, is that kind of how it was originated? Anybody? And you got an idea other than the History Channel?
I think it was a lot of that. It was accidental. They didn't understand fermentation, certainly, and most of the beers back in the old days were sour because they had bacterial contamination, and bacteria will sour a beer. So the beer they were drinking, 500-600 years ago is nothing probably like we have today. Wild yeast and bacteria that sour the beers and give you a totally different taste.
Hey, okay. Chuck, this sounds like a
a deep
Time,
thought.
time for Chuck. It sounds like a time for you to bring in the P word.
Well, it certainly is, and the P word, as we refer to it, is
It's Deep Thoughts with Chuck Wilson.
passion. You guys have the passion for what you're doing, the passion that drew you away from those comfortable careers out there in the regular world into doing something odd, something different, something beyond that signpost ahead that took you into the beer zone, and you're making people happy. I mean, it's fantastic. When I come to Bent River, I was a flashback to this.
One more plug.
Yeah, one more.
We're here. We're here, Chuck. We're here.
But when I come to Big Ugly, people are there. They love coming. They're there to support their local brewery, and that doesn't happen. I mean, they can go anywhere and get a Budweiser or a Miller or whatever, but you can't get a Big Ugly beer everywhere. And it's like you said, it's a fun place to come. You have the Volkswagen bus. You have motorcycles for seats, and you have old Chevy truck back gates for tables, and just all kinds of really cool stuff. And it's local. I mean, people are into local these days, and I'm hugely supportive of that. And I try to avoid the big the beers. And we're talking about flavors. I mean, you drink a Bud Light or something, and it's like, okay, yeah, I can distinguish that some water passed through some grain, and then they threw in some, just alcohol, grain alcohol into it, and they're calling that beer. I mean, yeah, I just appreciate what you guys are doing, and that you have the passion, the P word, as Dave and I call it, for what you're doing. Describe, I mean, how does that come off to you? Aaron, what do you think? Describe your passion for what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great word for it, because we definitely all have passion for the industry. We had passion for the industry before we ever got into the brewery, before we ever started the distribution company. I mean, it was something that we've all been involved in and have really enjoyed. And that's part of what drives us to do what we do, because we now want to share that passion with our customers. I want to share that passion with people outside of the brewery and help them understand what's going on at these other breweries that we distribute for. So it very much drives what we do.
Jim, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm always a little bit biased when I see a brewery starting up where the owners don't really like beer, and they see it as a business opportunity, and that's just me. But
Horrible. That's horrible.
long before we opened a business, Sean and I run a little neighborhood club, the Beer Club for Men, and we drank literally thousands and thousands of different styles of different beer.
Beer Club for Men, I love it.
Yeah, we had a passion for the beer long before we had a passion for the business. And I think you have to have that if you're going to do something like this. And I was fortunate enough that I knew enough about the beer, how to make it, that we were able to turn that into a business.
Sounds to me like you never, either any of you don't have a day at work because you love what you do.
It's fun when you come in there and the place is packed and people are drinking the beer and everybody's happy. I mean, that's a great feeling.
Can you make anything in this? Chuck will get a kick out of this. They all will. Can you make anything in Jelly Belly flavors? Have you thought about anything like that? They know I'm a big
Yeah,
Jelly Belly
Dave-
fan. I love Jelly Bellies.
Dave loves a jelly.
Challenge accepted, Dave.
Get back to me, Aaron.
And the cool thing about it is you can go in there, you can drink and get free advice from a 6. I mean, when you talk about getting advice from a bartender, she's really qualified. to give
Yeah.
advice.
Very qualified.
I mean, that's the best ever.
That's right.
Well, I'm going to make a
or something or other, and
I'm going to make a personal point of visiting these places and checking them out.
Well, I hope so.
I think everybody else. I think everybody else should too. That's
Definitely.
listening here.
Anybody
Agreed.
watching Chesapeake, Virginia, Route 168, South Battlefield. Hickory,
Sounds like a field trip.
Hickory, Virginia. Awesome. We are getting at the hour, and man, I tell you, I had a great time tonight. I'm glad
We got to do this again. We got to do this topic again.
Time
Maybe
flew.
you should join us for the whole show next time. Dave.
Yeah, it'd be nice, you know. That's a great idea.
If only we started at the same time every Tuesday. You would know.
Okay, so we have to answer a question. Sweet Martin has put a couple questions out there.
Yeah,
So-
go for it.
Yes, so porter is available for crowlers.
Can you translate what he's in? I don't know what it
Leaf
is. A
Peepers.
leaf peeper.
Leaf Peepers is one of their beers. Martin
Well, the
actually
Ghost
works for
Rider
me.
is porter.
So Martin's one
Yeah.
of my guys. He loves their beer.
Nice.
What's up, Martin?
Yes, so
Martin,
you can
thanks
get
for your input.
porter
Too.
in the crowler right now. Peepers is available in a crowler or a growler right now, and I believe in, let's see, what's the date? In a few weeks, less than a month, we'll hopefully have it back in cans as well, 16-ounce cans to go.
Awesome. And he also noted that Chuck looks nice and cool in the AC that he put in that office.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Yeah, Jeb's guys put a mini split into my office here,
Nice.
keeping all my leather-bound books perfectly.
That's a lot of books. We're very impressed by that.
They're all popped up.
Hey, Chuck, the third shelf up from your head there on the left, there's red books. What's that third one there? I think I read that.
Yeah, I've read every one of
Letters
these
D.
actual books.
All right. As we get back to that hour mark, I really want to thank all of you guys for coming. Man, great show. Enjoyed. I think we had a lot of locals here I've seen pop in tonight. Everyone is definitely supportive of Big Ugly. We were very, very happy when we seen them come into town. They've done outstanding. They've grown. They've got bigger buildings. Best place in Hickory to hang out at. We thank y'all for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeb.
Thank you.
Please
everybody.
come back again. We'd like to do another night with you all.
I'd love it.
Absolutely.
Dave wants a whole hour with you.
So,
Expanded show that night. I'm going to do the whole 60
We
minutes.
need more air conditioning, and then maybe.
please shut off. Would you guys please shut off the tab I started there a few weeks
Yeah.
ago?
Hey, Chuck, you're going to need to get a new shirt. You know that?
For those at home,
Yeah.
for those at home, if you're interested in the breweries, the beer making, all that, do it. Try it. Fail miserably. Feed it to all
But
your
hang in
neighbors.
there.
Make them drink it all. Hang in. And next thing you know, you could be a successful brewery.
And if you're not of age, go down to the liquor store and stand out front. Somebody will get it for you.
Awesome. We will see y'all next week, Tuesday at 8 o'clock. As always, Dave, we'll see what time he shows up. But the rest of us, me and Chuck will be here Tuesday, 8 o'clock for the next career that you do not have to
Needle it in there, twist it in there.
for our next career that you do not have to have a 4-year college degree to start at. Thank you very much.